dry, reed-lined ditches ran either side of the path. A track like this went nowhere. It would peter out at the field boundary, just an access lane for farmers checking the crops or taking soil samples for analysis. A small group of people were gathered. Matt locked his car and made his way towards them. "It's another one, boss." DI Jason Hammond had beaten him to it, and didn't look happy about being out on the fen at daybreak. Then again, he rarely looked happy. He was not known for his sparkling personality or positive outlook on life. Jason was a worrier. He knew, but didn't care, that some of the beat bobbies called him an old woman. More importantly, he was a bloody good and very thorough detective. Jason wouldn't have been his right-hand man for so many years if that weren't the case. Matt looked at the body. A man, hair unkempt, wearing heavy boots, and the kind of shabby clothes that the migrant farm workers wore. He pulled on gloves and knelt down. A dark stain covered one side of the man's chest, and the tear in his t-shirt showed that he had been stabbed. Poor guy would have bled out pretty quickly. Jason shook his head. "Third knife attack in as many months. No ID, I suppose?" "Nothing. Pockets empty, stripped bare. Just the usual giveaway." Jason indicated the man's arm. Without having to move him, Matt could see the tattoo. It was the same as the one on the last two victims. The design looked almost like a pattern used in weaving, a kind of intricate tree-like cross entwined with leaves. Matt had been told it was a traditional Lithuanian motif. "Forensics are on their way, but I think this is cut and dried, don't you?" "Another casualty of the Baltic Mafia," Jason said. It certainly looked that way. There had been a massive influx of migrant workers into the area in the past few years, mostly hard-working, decent people. But with them came a hardcore criminal element, known locally as the Baltic Mafia. Often Russian, but sometimes comprised of a mixture of other Eastern European nationalities. They were heavily involved in drugs, bootleg alcohol, and cigarettes. This Mafia was the silent source of the conflict between two local groups of Latvians and Lithuanians. Their method was to brutally remove existing local dealers and lay the blame at the feet of the warring neighbours. If people knew what was going on, then they were too terrified to admit it. It was easier to blame their old enemies. Matt stood up. "I agree with you, Jason. There's little doubt about this. Our biggest problem will be identifying him, since the migrants are so reluctant to engage with the police." He grinned at his friend's long face. "Cheer up. You never know, we might get lucky and a grieving loved one will come forward." "Sure, and just like the other cases, they might be too scared of reprisals to open their mouths to anyone." Jason sighed. "That's the most likely scenario, isn't it?" Sadly, he was probably right. But Matt wasn't the glass half-empty type. "Are you okay to wait for forensics?" Jason nodded. "Then I'll get back and set up an action program for the team. See you back at the factory." He hated to admit it, but Matt felt a guilty relief at this being a death resulting from a gangland fight. The bodies, if not dumped in one of the two tidal rivers that flowed through their patch, were usually just discarded somewhere on the fens. It was horrible, but it was the unfortunate outcome of dealing in drugs. Matt had feared something different. A twisted and complex case that would have meant him staying on until the investigation was fully underway. With this, they knew where to look, who to talk to, and what they were dealing with. And it was easily handed over. He climbed back into his car, the heat taking his breath away. He lowered the windows and reversed back into the lane. He hated using the aircon, but it was definitely necessary now. As he drove, he thought back to a conversation that he'd had with Liz the previous morning. "Do you honestly think it would work?" Matt turned back from the window and stared at Liz. "Why shouldn't it?"